once and still got Tamio ultimated in the same game.
Well, obviously it's not good enough then. Rakdos does not beat Tamio, I guess.
No, I killed his Jace.
Oh, okay. It beats Jace then, so.
Yeah.
On the other side, we have Roy Beirman playing White-Blue Humans.
Yep, pretty standard. This Blue-White Humans is the basically the anti-zombie deck of the format. Roy takes a mulligan. He's on 6.
Yeah.
But White Wing is like, you know, the timeless classic. Always at least playable.
The player can.
Generally have the 2-mana white creatures are generally some of the most powerful creatures you can play. This particular list and most versions have Knight of Glory, Elite Inquisitor, Precinct Captain. And there's some other cards you can play, but Roy supplements them with Dryad Militant and War Falcon. Nearly every creature in Roy's deck is a knight or a soldier.
Yeah, works pretty well with War Falcon.
Yeah, allows the War Falcon to be a 2/1 flyer for 1 mana. Roy actually plays about the most amount of creatures that don't trigger War Falcon that you possibly can. He has 3 Sublime Archangels and 4 Geists of St. Traphs.
There we see Geist of St. Traft.
And there's his nemesis, Vampire Nighthawk.
Vampire Nighthawk, pretty sweet there.
Okay, so
for Chris Cornwell Shiel.
This might happen a few times. Your opponent can block a 2/2 with Geist of St. Traft, so you want some ways to get it through. Roy has some of that, which he's got a wide variety of things actually. He's got 3 Spectral Flight, 3 Azorius Charm, 2 Faith Shield, and 2 Cyclonic Rift, in addition to 2 copies of a Johnny Caller of the Pride. Not all of those work here, but
there's a Spectral Flight.
That's the Spectral Flight. And are we going to see a Faith Shield too?
Block says Vampire Nighthawk.
Oh, he's got
and we have Azorius Charm. Puts that Nighthawk on top. I call that Condemnatory Lapse. You know, but like condemn,
I like
memory lapse. So it's Condemnatory Lapse.
Yeah, all right.
Although, you know, the Nighthawk wasn't attacking. But so, big chunk of Chris's life total gone from that Geist and Angel combo. Chris should be down to 12.
No,
I'm
he
sorry.
blocked.
Oh, that's right, he did block, I'm sorry. Down to 16 from the Angel.
Yeah, so we
saw Mutilate from Chris.
Silverblade Paladin is probably the best pump effect left in White Wing. We don't have Honor the Pure.
Right. Silverblade Paladin and War Falcon come down.
Yeah, so basically you're pumping your creatures individually, either via Spectral Flight or Silverblade Paladin.
Which is a knight.
It is. And the Nighthawk comes down, and Nighthawk looks awesome. And the Affliction.
And there we go. We have ourselves a read.
Hey, don't worry, Roy. I had to read it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shrieking Affliction at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep. So Roy's taking 3 here. I like the name for this, Rakdos.
Yeah.
Shrieking Affliction has a lot of similarities with a classic favorite, the Rack.
The Rack, yeah. That was one. Seemed like everybody always played like the Rack and Black Vice, just both in their decks. I mean, back in the day, it was just like one way or another, I'm going to get you.
Yeah.
So, Nighthawk trades with the War Falcon there? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. The War Falcon was pumped from the Paladin.
So we have
the double strike from the
Desecration Demon coming down for Chris.
Yeah. So now this is another new card. Desecration Demon, often compared to Abyssal Persecutor.
I don't think it's remotely the same card.
No, it's just one of those one where you're like it's a 4-mana flying 6/6.
Right. That's pretty much where the comparisons stop. Persecutor always worked with. This one you need an empty board more or less. It works if they have like 1 creature in this case. Because there's no way Roy's going to sack his guy to tap it when he can't attack through.
And I think that's the thing about Desecration Demon. It's like, if I'm Chris, or if I'm the player playing Desecration Demon, in a lot of cases, you're really happy with both. Like, I'm gonna either have a 6/6 flyer, or I'm gonna make it so I have a removal spell that just sits on the table.
Right.
So
you're happy with both if you can keep the board relatively clear.
Yeah. And you put it in a deck like that. So
unfortunately, Chris played his last swamp because he has another Mutilate in hand, I believe, which is awesome. If he can, no, it wasn't. It's just an ultimate price.
So ultimate price on a Sublime Archangel, freshly played by Roy, alongside
I thought he had
War
a Mutilate.
Falcon.
But yeah, ultimate price is pretty good there. Although I think it might have been a little preemptive. I think he could have done a nice little combat trick, breaking up some stuff, maybe breaking up the Soulbound on Paladin.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
And Stencia Bloodhall comes down for Chris. I love that card, I'm not going to lie.
That's the shocking land, right? It just basically just does 2 for like 100 mana or something.
It's a shock
really
land,
6,
but
right?
not in the way we think of a shock land.
It's a different kind of shock land.
This would deal 4. Yeah. The other thing about Roy, he's been taking 3 from that Shrieking Affliction every turn.
Yeah, he's taken that, and then he's also, he's declined to ever tap the demon, so the demon actually got in last turn, and Rakdos takes down the first. Wow,
that was
first game.
That's a dismantling from Chris. Like all his cards played really well that game.
Yeah, they did. Everything did exactly what he wanted it to do. I mean, Ultimate Price is a card where you're like, how good is it? There's so many, it doesn't hit artifacts or multicolored creatures. What am I trying to kill exactly? I mean, a Sublime Archangel is a nice prime
probably the best one
target
you can kill,
for an ultimate price. The ultimate target, I think, for ultimate price. So, looking at Chris's sideboard, he's got 1 copy of Blasphemous Act, which seems pretty decent, just as a sweeper for him in addition to those Mutilates that he's got. He does have 1 Mizzium Mortars in the main, 2 copies in the board, just as sweepers. He's got a copy of Underworld Connections, not necessarily coming in here, but just wanted to note it because it's just another new card. I like to see what players are deciding to play. Other than that, he's got 3 copies of Pillar of Flame. I imagine he could bring in here. Nice. Nice.
I definitely see that. He doesn't have a ton of red sources. He only has 10.
Yeah.
So it's a little iffy, but I still think, I mean, if Pillar's in his sideboard, you're bringing him in.
Right, so he can go 3 Pillar, 2 Mizzium Mortars, and a Blasphemous Act. That's 6 cards. That's if he has 6 cards that he wants to side out. The Shrieking Affliction did work.
Yeah.
That game.
I would definitely side out the Duresses.
Yeah, you can cut the 4 Duresses, and you can probably even cut, shave the Rakdos returns. Like, what do you think about that? Like,
that's definitely a candidate for getting cut, but I think you want some amount of discard in the deck. I don't think you want to lean exclusively on Liliana.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, Roy just played his creatures out, so that might just be an option on Shrieking Affliction. But I definitely think you want at least like a couple. But like, I like all the other cards in his deck.
Yeah. So what do you think if you cut 4 Duresses? If you're trying to bring in 6, if you try to bring in Blasphemous Act,
Pillar,
3 Pillar, 2 Mizzium Mortars, there's 6.
I would cut 4 Duress, probably. I might even cut a Shrieking Affliction or 2.
Okay. I think I would.
Maybe like 1 Shrieking Affliction, 1 Rakdos return. This is
I
like
think
one of those things where
I
would have tried to work out the sideboarding.
Mm-hmm.
With a deck like this, with my Velwongo deck, I definitely worked out that I needed to take out the engine against some of the aggressive decks. Because I just wanted mono removal and just use like Faithless Looting and Grizzly Salvage to make sure I drew the correct amount of lands and spells. And just be like mono removal and then some bomb creatures.
Sure, yeah. Looking at Roy's sideboard, he's got 3 Negate, 2 Rest in Peace, 3 Thalia, 2 Divine Deflection, 3 Detention Sphere, and 2 Pithing Needle. So, not too great of a sideboard. Like, I'm not seeing a lot of stuff that's obvious when he wants to bring in and dilute his aggressive strategy.
I think Talia would probably work. One thing I'm really worried about from Roy, he's really bad against a Vampire Nighthawk.
Yeah.
A lot of his creatures are 2 power. So Johnny's good against it. It pumps him up to 3 power. Like, Spectral Flight is terrible against Nighthawk, as we saw there.
Just the death touch, yeah.
I mean, he literally got 0 damage, 0 utility from his Nighthawk, or from his Spectral Flight against the Nighthawk.
Yeah, it was almost like, why even play the Spectral Flight? Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think if I'm I mean, he just wanted to kill the Nighthawk, I guess.
Right. I
That
think
was
he played.
the
Yeah,
only
he
reason to
definitely played a little too early.
Yeah.
I think.
Um,
Cyclonic Rift is pretty good against it. Kind of like that card in this matchup. I wish it was like an unsummon. I wish it could target your own creatures, but
yeah, I'm thinking about that turn. So, like, he had Geist, and he put a Spectral Flight on it, and attacked with the plan of using Azorius Charm on the blocking Nighthawk. So, what was even? It was just.
What's the reason for Spectral Flight?
Yeah,
not much.
Sure
I mean, you like save mana.
Yeah, I guess.
But like, it didn't do much for him that game. It
Right.
didn't do anything for him that game.
But I don't. If I'm Roy, I think I don't really want to dilute my main
I'd probably
deck
take
too
out
much.
the Spectral Flights for Talia's.
Yeah, and that's basically it.
Maybe Negates instead of Talia's. I don't like having Talia and Negate in the same deck.
Yeah, seems fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Talia's really good in Legacy, and I think was really good against the old Delver decks.
Yeah.
That were. But
still
like this deck,
applicable.
Like, I mean, I'm sure it's
Chris's
fine.
deck doesn't have a lot of creatures in it. He drew 2 of his 8 creatures, so
Sure.
like being able to see the deck list, I actually really like.
You like the Thalia better than
Yeah.
Roy may, because Roy saw a black
Right.
aggressive
I like it.
deck. Yeah,
I like
yeah,
it from. I like Talia from this seat a lot more than I like it from that seat.
I see. That makes sense.
Let's see if we get some keepers this game.
It looks like both players now taking a look at their openers. If you're just joining us, I'm Joey Pasco in the booth with Adam Prosak, and we're covering StarCityGames.com Open Series here in Providence, Rhode Island. Week 2 of Return to Ravnica Standard, and players continue to build on some of the strategies that we saw last week in Cincinnati. We see Thragtusk making an appearance in some control decks. And we see some players experimenting with things like Rakdos control. Chris Cornwell Shiel with a...
We've updated the name to...
Yeah, just Rakdos. I mean, you can call it Rakdos
right,
control.
So he's keeping his duresses in. And he gets...
We're going to take a look at Roy's hand. So this is for those of you who aren't familiar with duress, this is Gitaxian Probe. It doesn't draw you a card. No, just kidding.
The most complicated way to explain
exactly.
it
It's like a Gitaxian Probe, but it costs black. And it isn't Phyrexian mana, and it doesn't draw you a card, but it steals a card from their hand, if it's a non-creature, non-land. So we see 2 Knights, 1 Sublime Archangel. Yeah, there's the Knight of Glories there, 2 of them on the end. 1 Sublime Archangel, 1 Glacial Fortress, 1 Azorius Charm, and 1 Spectral Flight. So he kept the flights, too. So
yeah,
both players not on the same plan as us. So there goes Azorius Charm.
Roy has the option, like we say, of just not sideboarding. That was an option for him.
Sure, yeah.
Like, none of his cards seem particularly potent.
His creatures are certainly less effective when they're behind his lands.
Oh, I don't know about that. Don't get me wrong, I play with my lands behind my spells, but...
I'm just messing around.
It's still going to hit for 4 this turn, more than likely.
So the Knight is in play. We saw Sign in Blood from Chris. And Knight number 2 hits the board.
And
Knight number
Exalted
1 swings, yeah.
Brings Chris to 14 after Sign in Blood and his attack. Chris is under the gun. Knight's one of the few good cards that Roy has against a Vampire Nighthawk.
Yeah, and he plays 4 main.
Yeah, it's probably one of the reasons to play a White Weenie deck. It likely one of best. So
Pillar of Flame takes out one of them.
It looks like I see another red card. I think Chris might have been just digging for red sources.
Yeah, it's
because
possible.
He's
another Sign in Blood from Chris.
He's feeling the pain.
Yeah, this is Suicide Black. Suicide Rakdos, I guess. At least in this case, it's not really a Suicide Black deck otherwise. Just a Sign in Blood. So, Pillars one Knight, plays a Sign in Blood,
Ray has
passes
a couple
back.
options. He can either Spectral Flight or he can play another creature if he has one, or
He
he
has
can play
Sublime
Sublime
Archangel.
Archangel
Yeah.
and really get his Exalted going. So he has Elite Inquisitor
And the Spectral
so
Flight.
he's going to go for that option. I kind of like that option. Plays a little better against Mutilate. Since I'll have the Sublime Archangel backup instead of just an Elite Inquisitor.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. And it's still pretty aggressive, especially considering
you gotta
Chris has done
maintain
for
your
himself.
aggressive. Yeah. And so Chris is on 7. Looks like Mizium Mortars is going to take out the Knight of Glory.
Yeah, and it does.
I like that.
And if Chris plays another Sign in Blood here,
he's dead basically.
Yeah, he's in trouble. But 2 black mana up. Can't quite see what's in his hand. I did see a Bloodline Keeper in his hand, but not anything he can cast right now.
The rack.
Shrieking Affliction there. That is
that's
putting the rack in.
That's real good. Nice work, Chris. 4 in Shrieking Affliction. It's like, what does that card do? Can you read it? No. All of his Japanese opponents will be very appreciative.
Sure, yeah. And I believe we're going to see Sublime Archangel.
Yo, bro, I heard you like Exalted. So I'm going to give all your creatures Exalted.
I hear Roy doesn't practice Santeria. And Crystal Ball isn't legal.
So Chris is facing lethal from all the creatures.
And Mizium Mortars.
And
takes care of the Elite Inquisitor. Plays
Ultimate Price. Vampire Nighthawk. Perfect.
So Chris trying to come back.
Take 3.
Plays a Shockland tapped.
Yeah. All right, Chris is on his heels, but he's looking good. He's deciding if he wants to play an actual. Ooh,
a Johnny from Roy.
Unfortunately for Chris, oh, that's a nice play. I like that.
So
double
Johnny
strike
comes down
for the no trades.
Yeah, double strike on the Archangel. Nighthawk gets in the way. It's the best he can do. He has to get in the way, otherwise Chris loses.
Right.
And so
that's a good play from Roy. I like it.
Chris back on his heels,
and,
plays a second Nighthawk.
Chris punishes him. And Roy's going to Rack City. Can't do the double strike this time. So Roy just draws his card, gets out of Shrieking Affliction range, but not out of Ultimate Price range.
Yeah, I was going to say, why does that Archangel have 2 counters on it?
Who cares how many counters it's
It doesn't
been.
matter now that the Ultimate Price has been paid here by Roy, but
you feel like the Ultimate Price would cost a lot more than 2 mana.
Well, it's not you paying the Ultimate Price. It's not the caster. It's the I guess the guy getting the on the receiving end. So it's like, this is what you get for not being part of not being multicolor.
Stancia Bloodhawk takes out the Ajani.
Wow.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of brutal.
All right, Roy's out of rack range, but
yeah, he's deliberately out of rack range. I think he's. I don't know that
he's
out
of Nighthawk range.
Nighthawk
This thing is awesome.
This is crazy. So
we'll put this in the shopping cart too.
Yeah, Bloodline Keeper now for Chris, and Roy may have maybe be looking at a closing window here. I think he had the opportunity to really.
So I don't think Roy has any spells to play. He's just. Yeah.
And there's some frustration from Roy. Yeah, it's just 3 lands, and there's a handshake. Picks
Either
up
that or he doesn't seem that frustrated.
Well,
I think
when he
just-
tossed his hand,
yeah,
it
I think
seemed
he just,
frustration.
like,
I'd be
might have-
frustrated. He's like sitting there like
Yeah, okay, he's a little frustrated.
I
yeah.
played every guy I had, and it wasn't enough. I got you to 3,
Well, I mean,
and
that's
then
how this white
then he
weenie
went,
deck
he
works.
went land on land. He
Yeah.
got flooded there at the end, I
Yeah.
think. It was nice to keep him out of rack range, but he saw like there's nothing,
Right.
nothing he can do. So,
So-
apparently, looks like we have a deck tech. That will be up later for Chris Cornwell Shiel's Rakdos control list.
So the idiot advances to 3-0.
Yes.